All right, welcome to the inaugural Mind Over Motor podcast.
How's it going?
This is Sam and I'm Nick, and we are two car guys just having fun doing what we do,
Yeah.
We just decided it was time. So, we listen to podcasts of all types, car related and otherwise, and it's, sometimes you just want to jump in. So here we go.
Yeah. So, first topic. So there's a couple topics we're going to be talking about, but here's kind of the rundown of what we're hopefully going to hit, but we always go on tangents. So
Tangents happen.
See. Yeah. So our first one is self-driving cars, kind of what we feel like is going to happen.
Big topic these days,
yeah,
for sure.
And then next is the...
we're going to talk about the Ferrari Pista, which is a lovely name for a car. And then kind of the idea like hardcore supercars, the other things that are out there right now. Then we're going to go into the Kia Stinger, which we both drove recently at the Philly Auto Show, very sort of briefly. We got a taste, and it kind of in comparison to the Genesis G70. And then we are going to talk about
the last part,
your favorite thing and my favorite thing for two different reasons.
The butt seats, the rear seats.
Butt seats in the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, which is not actually out yet because Geneva's next week. But they released a teaser.
Yep.
And you have your opinion and I have my opinion.
On that.
So
strong
there we go.
On seats.
But yeah, let's hop right into self-driving cars.
Cool.
All right, so, here we are. It's 2018. And, self-driving cars is what everybody's talking about. Everyone's like, in 5 years' time, we're all going to be running around in these little beans with no steering wheels. And, nobody's ever going to die in a traffic again. And it's going to be like a, perfect world.
It's probably going to happen. Not in 5 years.
Yeah. I actually agree with you. I think
not in 5 years.
No, not 5. But, I do think that self-driving cars are the future at some point. I think we can both agree on that.
For sure. I think both of us are car enthusiasts, obviously. Yeah. We prefer to drive, but we understand society has to move on. What happens to your grandparents if they want to go anywhere?
Well, and I think any of us who are car enthusiasts have always been stuck behind, you're out driving, having a good day, and you're having some fun, and then you get stuck behind somebody who really would rather not be driving. And, this will be a beautiful thing because it'll give those people what they want. They will never have to drive again.
Yep.
And, I look forward to that day when, your average person that only buys a car because they have to.
Yeah.
Why not let the car drive them at a certain point?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's it just opens up so many, you can do so many things on the way to your going wherever. Safety. But yeah, you brought up safety though.
Well,
that brings up a lot of questions.
And I think that's where the biggest hurdle is. I think the Google cars have been out there for years now, and they're able to operate, but then there's fog and bugs hit the sensors and stuff, and then all of a sudden, you die in a fiery crash, and
whose fault is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it Google's fault? Is it your fault? Is it the car's fault? Someone has to take the blame.
It's a problem. And I will say, I did experience autopilot when I drove the Tesla a little while back.
Yep.
And, the autopilot, I think one of the biggest problems is they've labeled autopilot. It's really not autopilot. It's a fancy cruise control.
Super nice cruise control.
Yeah, and it's awesome. You can take your hands off the wheel. The car will steer itself. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But, you really can't stop paying attention. And I think when you brand something autopilot, people are going to think, okay, they think about an airplane. When a pilot on an airplane pushes autopilot, the plane flies itself. Now, does that mean that the pilots totally check out from everything? No. Even in airplanes. Absolutely not. You better hope they don't. They're still paying attention to other things going on. But, you have to do that. And, one of the guys who died in the Tesla crash, I think he was reading a book or something like that. They found it in the car or some shit.
Yeah, but I don't blame Tesla for labeling it that though.
They want to be ambitious.
It's ambitious, but also they're not. They're marketing to the masses. They're not marketing to just enthusiasts. I think we are more of a hyper consumer.
Yeah,
we understand okay, it's not really autopilot, but the average consumer is gonna be oh yeah, this is definitely autopilot because they're not as informed, I guess.
And they're used to like normal cruise control.
Right.
Yeah,
So
like
anything
push
beyond
the thing
that,
in the car, like
like, anything beyond that's like wow. So
Yeah.
I think they're obviously it's like marketing and branding and whatnot. So I don't think it's bad that they labeled it that. I think it's like bringing attention to a very
they're showing where they
reality
want
of
to
it.
go, I think.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I think they're like, I think it's like, well, we might as well call it autopilot now because it's gonna be that, even if the first few generations aren't.
Yeah.
But, do you remember back in Top Gear when Clarkson was driving the S-Class and it had the radar guided cruise control?
Yeah, that was like
and it stopped
revolutionary.
itself, and it was like, oh my god, this thing actually...
Yeah.
I mean, that was like one of the first times where I was like sort of excited about the idea of like reality of self-driving cars. I'm like, damn, like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
and now you get it on a Maxima, Yeah,
that's
like,
insane.
Technology trickles down for sure.
Yeah, and I think, what is it called? I think Tesla's autopilot is like a phase 1 or something.
I'm not an expert on the different phases of electric cars.
Peugeot or another European brand actually has like a phase 3 or more advanced autopilot. It's insane. Legitimately, you type in an address, it takes you there, changes lane for you based on traffic patterns. It's insane. So it like blows Tesla out of the water. It's a 1 of 1. So there's only one.
Oh, so it's just a prototype.
Yeah. Oh, you know who did that? Car Throttle.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. They actually, I guess, they didn't drive it, but they were in it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing. So
it is pretty incredible that you just... I mean, I love the idea. Don't get me wrong. Even as an enthusiast, I love the idea that, you could have your AMG Mercedes, right? Fun to drive, all this great stuff. And then you go to the bar, you have a couple beers, you push the autopilot button, the car takes you home.
Yeah, that's...
It'd be nice.
Awesome.
It'd be really nice.
Because you can, like, drive hard when you want and when you just want to get to a place.
Yeah.
Which is, I would say... 60-70% of the time for your average person.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that's, as a lot of these cars that are more average cars that are high performance, like your AMGs, like your M's, like M5 is a normal sedan, but it has to be batshit fast.
Yeah.
And, I think autopilot definitely has a place there. Where it doesn't have a place for me, and this is where I get heated.
It's going to say Miata.
Okay, yes, but I would say sort of like sports cars in general that aren't like a sedan based. Like the new Rimac, the one to replace the Concept 1 that they're talking about, might be released at Geneva soon. That they're saying that has, I think, level 2 or 3 autonomy. And I'm like, who the hell is in the market for a hypercar? A car you're going to drive maybe once or twice a month for the average buyer. On a day when you want to go out and have a joyride, why the hell would you want your car to drive for you?
Why wouldn't you not want that option?
But why would you? I don't get why. I just don't think it even is in the conversation with a car like that. The whole point of a car like that is a roller coaster you can control.
Okay. Then what about this scenario? What about... Yeah, you're right. Like, if you buy a car like that, you're most likely not going to daily drive it.
Yeah.
You're most likely going to drive it on the weekends, every other weekend.
When you're going out for a thrill on like a Sunday morning, you know?
But just say, like, getting to that thrill, which might be like a curvy road, which is, I don't know, 2 miles away. Like, you don't want...
Look at, like, your buddies, right? Your buddies, I mean, actually, this is to your point. Look at your buddies who live in, like, New York City, right?
Yeah.
You could have the car drive you out of Manhattan. Don't get me wrong, there's people that like driving in Manhattan. As someone who likes driving on like country roads and stuff and like winding roads, like I don't really love city driving, and so I guess maybe that if I had a Rimac and I lived in New York, I would have the car take me out of the city, and then I would take control afterward. I mean, yeah, maybe that's an idea, but I sort of just to me that the it's for like the principle of it. Like this is a driver's car, this is a hypercar. Why on earth would you want it to drive you?
I think from a manufacturer standpoint, I think it's just another, like, it is the pinnacle of performance for them, right? It's their flagship.
Yeah.
Which I think should show flagship technology. As long as it doesn't heavily compromise the performance. That's what I think. It's like, hey, we can do this as well, even though, like, most likely people won't use that.
That's kind of my problem with it, though. And I guess it doesn't really take it... No, I'm it's not really about that. It's more like, I don't have a problem with it if it adds something to it, but I think it's there just as kind of a gimmick because they can.
It is.
You know what I mean?
And it's because they know that it'll have publicity.
Yeah.
And hopefully having that there will lead people to like, oh, like this other car has it too. Like,
yeah, I feel like it's just a talking point, and like it doesn't really serve the purpose of a hypercar. But like it's just there because it's like, oh well, you know, like people just try to add on as many bragging rights as they can with these cars, and at that level especially, like I remember when the Bugatti came out, and it's like, oh, it's got the world record in this and the most power, it's the fastest, and it's like, how many owners have actually been over 200 miles an hour in their car?
Yeah, I mean, same with like I would say the Dodge Viper ACR, same thing.
Yeah.
Like no one. I mean,
who can really have the ability to drive that?
Exactly, and you got to actually drive it literally fast around a corner to get its full potential.
Yeah, the aero.
Like, oh, I just bought this car and I want to take it that hard around the corner.
Yeah.
Probably not.
It's a next level machine for sure.
So,
but yeah, I mean, I guess in the end of the day, that's what these cars are becoming to be about, right? Yeah. You know, the focused hypercars of old, like a McLaren F1, where everything is about driving focus. Yeah, that isn't really the name of the game anymore. It's kind of more about bragging rights. It's more about just effortless performance rather than having to really work for it.
Which is good. I mean, it
has its place in the world for sure.
It's like, you know, I feel like the Carrera GT was one of the last of like the most mechanical.
That's why that and the Zonda are my two favorites. That's like,
I mean, I'm not arguing with you. Those are amazing cars, but like to have the general population be excited for fast cars, that means you got to make it somewhat easy to drive. Well,
you know, I think the Bugatti was one of the ones that really kicked that off, especially in the modern hypercars, was because it was so affordable. Well, no, but we're talking hypercars here. Like they're similar range and like. But the Viron was the car that clocked over 250 miles an hour, and it was a car that was easy to drive. Anybody could drive that car in the right scenario. Right? If you have an open road, anyone could get in that car and go 230, 240. Not a problem because it's so stable and so easy. Yeah. That's for me, that's the engineering achievement of the Viron, was that they made it so easy to do. There were other cars that could go similar speed, but they were borderline race cars. Yeah. You know, the car that actually did it and was easy to drive on the road and comfortable and it, you know, like attainable in an ability standpoint. You didn't have to be a hero to drive it.
Yeah.
It's like a mass market hypercar, and it started that segment, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's true.
I think so, but you know, so it's kind of, I guess it's there. Like things have been getting easier and easier and easier, and
I mean, I think we all can agree that it's eventually going to come to an end. Not entirely, as in like we won't be able to drive manual, I guess not auto driving cars, but it come to an end as in the norm being you know, like you drive to work.
I think we can both agree that there will be these little enclaves of car enthusiast holdouts, and we'll probably be among them, that are still going to have their cars, and
so we're going to preppers.
Yeah, but with cars, exactly. That's 100% right. We're going to have our old air-cooled Porsches, and we're going to be like, "This is mine. You're going to take it over my cold dead body." But like, you know, of course, most people will be doing that.
To be honest,
I will be.
I think I'm going to join this like. I'm going to be part of a tuner. I'm going to be part of a tuner shop that does superchargers, but instead of it being air, it's going to be like, let me put extra voltage in.
Oh my god, dude! Oh my god!
I'm okay with that.
Well, people have done that with Teslas, like the electric front.
I mean, it's still like very, very like new.
Yeah,
when it
tuning of electric cars is
like when it becomes, I guess, open source to like re-engineer the platforms.
Yeah, changing the ways the motors work. I mean, of course, if you give a person
alkaline batteries with lithium
ion, the fires that are going to happen are going to be great. People are going to blow themselves up. Yeah. But you know, if you give two competitive human beings two things that move, somebody's going to race. You know it's going to happen, man. Yeah. They, like in the Simeone Museum down in Philly, they're like, the first race was conceived when the second car was built. You're damn right, man. That's what we do. You know, anything that moves can be raced. So,
almost.
Yeah.
You need testosterone too.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like if we were all missing testosterone, I don't know if that would. I don't know if that would be the case. Who knows? But you know,
self-driving cars.
The future.
I don't think
it's going to happen.
There's no argument that it's not going to happen, but it's more so like what will it develop into? Will it be like a pod you jump into and then you just join like the herd?
I think eventually,
street?
yeah.
Yeah, or is it going to be, like, what's the progression going to be? Is it going to be, like, a bunch of Tesla-type cars with, like, Gen 2, Gen 3?
I think it's going to be like a hive mind, too. It's going to, because it's going to be
That's
a larger,
efficient.
and it's going to, like, obviously we've all been in this scenario where, there's, like, a merging lane and, usually the way you're supposed to do it by etiquette is you let one person in front of you and then you get in front of the next person. But there's always one dickhead that's like, I'm going right behind him and, and that's why there's backups there. If everybody just did it smoothly, like, like, it would just be a pretty smooth, like, zipper, basically.
Yeah.
But because people are so damn competitive, man.
Yeah, it's definitely that.
Get rid of that.
Competitive and just people that are not as confident.
You know what's going to be really funny, though, is that people are going to be competitive from their self-driving cars, and they're going to be, like, in the window, like, you mother... Like, you know what I mean?
Think so.
Like, I think they totally will, man.
Why would they do that?
Because they're people, and people are crazy, dude.
Because they know. They're like, okay, what else am I going to change?
I don't know, but what if you can program the thing to drive faster,
that's
and like
different.
you can still get into it, and like, oh man, how are they going to cross that bridge?
Well, I guess and that's another
Like
question.
programming wise, like,
are we going to need cops?
Well, are we going to need traffic cops? I think we're always going to need cops.
Cops. I mean, what I meant by it's traffic.
Like,
cops.
It's going to change how the police like to make their money.
If it's automated, then what is there to monitor?
Yeah,
unless there's obviously like a hacker.
Unless you can program it to break the law, but that's right now you can program the Teslas to break the law. You can set a cruising speed of 90 miles an hour, and I don't think in the U.S. there's any speed limit that's that high. Maybe in one state where you like pay extra and there's like
I don't think. I think
I've heard of that in some,
70,
but like
maybe
I guess 80 is. I think 80 is the highest
80,
posted speed limit.
Right.
But yeah, I mean you can set a Tesla to cruise at 90 or maybe even 100 miles an hour, and they don't have any problem with that. But the driver's still going to get the ticket.
Yeah.
Because you set it to go that fast.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you have the ability to tell it, you can get the ticket.
That makes sense. I think for right now, but once we get into,
when it's making its own decisions.
That's going to be a different story.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because you'll be like, you can tell it, you want it to get there as quickly as possible.
And then you're going to be in your
Miata, it's going to figure it out.
You're going to screw it all up.
Well, that's the other. Here's the other thing, though.
Pull in with your.
Here's the other thing, though. It's going to be a while before we get to like that. That iRobot level of like freeways. Like these self-driving cars are going to have to use the existing road architecture for probably at least most of our lifetime.
If not,
I would say.
I totally.
It's also the most simple thing. Like, what's more simple if you want to make a car be able to go somewhere? Asphalt done through a field. Now you have a road.
That's what we know now. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I think at a certain point they'll probably find a way to make cars.
What if the solution is like coating the
stuff,
asphalt to make it something like crazy slippery?
It's true.
Like who knows?
It could be
we don't know.
more efficient, less friction.
Yeah.
But
I'm saying, warning everyone out there: this guy is going to cause traffic accidents in his Miata.
Yeah, I'm going to be that guy that's like, there's going to be the line of self-driving cars all like this, and I'm going to be the guy in the Miata just fucking going. And that will be legal in most places in the country, but like in like New York City, you just won't even be able to drive yourself.
And I'll press a button just to go faster, and I'll beat him.
Oh man, well you will actually because it'll probably be electric and it'll be way faster.
Yeah,
but way less fun, man.
You just hear the
way less fun.
The whine of the turbine.
Oh yeah, because that sound just. Music to my ears.
I'm going to be the cool guy, the cool dad in the future. You're going to be that old geezer on the porch.
I'm going to be that old geezer picking my kids up in an air-cooled 911. You bet your ass.
Oh, my God.
That'll be the day, man. That will be the day.
Yeah, it's definitely... I'm excited and nervous at the same time.
Well, let's talk about infrastructure, too. I mean, I think, So the whole idea is like people are like, oh, well, pretty soon it's going to be illegal to drive your own car on the road. And I agree with that in built up city type areas. Like I think in our lifetime, probably within 20 years, you won't be able to drive a car in New York City.
Ooh.
Like on the island of Manhattan.
Maybe. I don't know about that.
I don't know, man. Like
there's just too many variables for...
But so much congestion and so much inefficiency. Like I think,
yeah.
But like, all right. So I think it's way more possible that you will see driven cars outlawed in cities than in like the middle of Montana.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
I think,
I don't think these open roads in the mountains are
think
ever going to be
actually,
like only self-driving cars.
I would actually disagree with you.
Why?
I think the first automated cars are going to be just outside the cities and the suburbs. It's more controlled, less variables. In the cities, you might, I don't know, Uber Eats might have a robot that goes through the sidewalk in a weird way. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's so many variables.
Well, that's going to be happening. People are going to think it's a terrorist and be like, no, it's just a self-driving car. No need to be alarmed, but it killed more people.
Yeah, I think
unfortunately.
It's going to be tested in controlled suburbs that are busy, not like busy suburbs.
Well, definitely being tested, but I mean like from legislation standpoint.
No, I think legislation.
Really, you think the suburb would hit that first? Like, so like a place like this, kind of like we're outside Philadelphia.
Yeah. I guess I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have a strong opinion here, but I'm from SoCal, so I would definitely say a place like Irvine, if you ever heard of Irvine. That's where Mazda's headquartered is, but it's a very organized city. I think it's owned by a private company, which is weird. That's a topic I have no idea.
That's one for a later podcast.
But I think in those like controlled cities that are very populated, there's so much traffic there. I think more than
I think LA is probably the worst traffic in our country.
I think LA would be the first actually because there's less variables. There's not many people walking in LA.
Yeah, and it's like a big city, isn't it? I mean, I've never been. I've only driven through LA one time in my life.
It's really wide, a lot of traffic. You're right.
Like nothing's like close. It's not like New York where you could walk the whole city.
No.
It's like things are kind of spread out.
I feel like New York would be the last place it would actually
Interesting.
happen.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
we'll have to see what happens.
Beside the anomalies of like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well, I think the middle of nowhere. You also have to remember socioeconomic issues. So, like, everyone's like, "Oh, self-driving cars are coming." Yeah, but if you go down to like Tennessee and like the backwoods, there are some places that don't even have internet yet, and this is not derogatory. But it's just true. There are some people in this country, in towns that are still a one-road town. There's one traffic light. Yeah. And some of them don't even have internet. Some of them don't have indoor plumbing. Those people are not going to buy a brand new $35,000 electric car that drives itself.
I agree with you, but you can't use those like one outlier.
Well,
or a couple
I wouldn't say it's
that
that much of an outlier, though. I mean, that's a large percentage of the population.
Okay, when you say no internet, I think that's a reach. I personally think.
Well, all right. I mean, it's 2018. Maybe it's a reach, but within 10 years ago, they got internet.
Okay,
it took them at least till 2010 or so.
That's fair. But I mean, saying there's like places with no internet in the U.S. No, I'm not saying there's not.
There might be, but it may be by choice. You'd have to try.
It's different. Yeah,
with like LTE.
It's not like I want internet, but I can't have it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it could be like
especially with phones now. You can just
that's true. You do get it,
whatever.
But that's true. All right, so maybe the internet's not bad, but you go to those towns and you're not going to see a brand new car. And you might not see a car post 2000 in some of these places.
Just wait like 10 years, they're gonna have like P90s.
Totally. They're all gonna be in Teslas soon.
Like, oh man, that's a dinosaur car.
The coal jobs are coming back, man. You know what I mean? Like,
they're
get ready.
Convert those to coal.
Hell yeah, dude. They're gonna be bitching.
Wow, we're pissing everybody.
It's piss everybody off. But no, I just think the areas that don't need to be overly regulated probably won't be. Because what's the point? Yeah. You're gonna spend your time enforcing like a wide open road in the middle of Montana. Like,
I don't think
nobody cares.
Gonna argue that. But
but in terms of car enthusiasts, I mean, look at the horse, right? We don't use horses to get around unless you're the Amish, but by and large, we don't use horses as transportation anymore. But there are still horse enthusiasts that, ride competitively, they race, they do their thing, and they have certain areas and certain facilities where they go do that. And, in some areas of the open country, you can actually take your horse for a ride and go through the countryside and at will. And, so I think enthusiast cars are going to be a bit like that. You're going to have places like Monticello Motor Club, those kind of places where they have either a racetrack or they're just going to have paved roads and maybe even like an enclosed area of a few hundred miles of paved roads that you can in a large area that you can drive your car on and keep it. And I think those things are going to exist because just because there are self-driving cars doesn't mean an air-cooled Porsche is not still a hell of a lot of fun to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree. I mean, I agree 80% of what you're gonna say. Yeah, that's. I mean, what you're saying. I
mean, yeah, I think the small enthusiast, people, especially those, because of the fact that a lot of those people happen to be very wealthy and influential, they'll make it happen.
Yeah, I think, but comparing it to the horses is.
I think it's just in the fact that the horse was once the predominant transportation method
for thousands of years, and the car's just been.
Well, no, but I mean the individual transportation method, right? If you want to go somewhere with your family, you're hooking up the wagon to the horse, and you're going into town. Now, if you want to do that, you're going in the car. Yeah. We're always going to need some type of small vehicle you can fit 6 people in,
but I think
to go around. And you want to have, you don't want public transportation though, because that's not freedom. People want freedom to be able to go wherever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want. So that's not going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I think the horse has more elements than just transportation. It can be a pet.
Yeah.
It can be transportation. It can be used for recreation, like I totally don't know the sports, but like
car
where they jump over.
A car can do many of those things.
Yeah, but it doesn't have like a connection. You can't like be sentimental with it.
Oh yeah,
I mean you can. Okay, this guy.
You can wax it.
Yeah, I love cars too, but I'm trying to be a realistic person here.
Well, I mean, I think, but here's the thing. All right. So like, I would say to like many enthusiasts, their cars are way more than machines.
No, I agree with
and it's almost to the point where it is like almost a living thing.
Yeah, but
they have the personality. It's
even if I'm not a horse enthusiast,
projecting it, but it is.
I'm not a horse enthusiast by any means, but I can see why.
Well, it's a living animal.
Yeah, like I understand.
You
like,
can pet it.
Bond, like between that person,
like
between that, and then I see like a normal person sees a car, or someone sees me. Horses.
It's an animal.
Yeah, like you can understand why someone would like it, but with cars, I would say like obviously I understand why people love cars, but
like do you ever think that every 250 GTO is going to be scrapped for metal, like within our lifetime?
No, but I think eventually it will. But I don't think horses will
fine.
Ever
like when we leave Earth because it's uninhabitable and we go to the next planet, maybe the cars won't come with us.
Yeah.
But I mean in a practical time frame where we might actually see it.
No, we won't. But I'm more thinking like future, like maybe
35.
2 or 3 generations ahead. I don't know.
That's another question for maybe later, and I don't want to dive into that rabbit hole. But how many generations do we think the car enthusiasm is going to last?
Like I guess what you would say, petrol enthusiasm.
Well, even just I guess just as an indicator, like a lot of the generation that really loves the pre-war collector cars.
Yeah.
And I love them myself just because they're beautiful, but like the generation that is like old enough to remember them, a lot of them are dying out right now, and a lot of the values at auctions on those cars have been dropping because
no one wants to
the younger generation didn't grow up with those.
Yeah. And
they appreciate them. They're rolling art, but I think most of those cars are going to wind up in museums at a certain point.
Yeah, I agree.
But, and that's probably where they should be. You know, you can't, like, a lot of those cars you can't really, like, keep up with modern traffic. Now, some of them you can, but, like, the higher end ones, but,
I think we should definitely save that for a different time.
Yeah, that's a different topic, though.
Yeah, but I think we should, I think we touched
I think we killed the shit out of,
speaking of horse, I think we definitely beat a dead horse.
We beat a dead horse.
Yeah, I think we brought it back to life and beat it again.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, let's move on to,
all right.
Yeah, Nick,
So
you can take this one pretty much.
The next one, and is a marquee that I do love, and they just released a new car. This is the Ferrari 488 Pista. Now I have an issue with the name, like a lot of people have been talking about. I mean, so
what does it mean? Do you know?
I'd have to read. I'd have to look for it. I'm sure it has a meaning. Like Scuderia means team. The team edition back in the F430, and the Speciale means the special.
I don't speak Italian.
I don't speak Italian. I'm not prepared in that way. I don't know what Pista means. However, I think Ferrari missed in the naming department. They missed the golden opportunity to, do a nod to heritage in the GTO, because the original Ferrari hypercar was the 288 GTO, and that was when they took the 308 in the 80s, which was one of the first V8 mid-engine Ferraris, and they strapped 2 turbochargers to it, put bigger ground effects on it, and made basically a car that was above supercars. And that was one of the first cars that defined what a hypercar is. And then you had the F40, the Enzo, the F50, and LaFerrari recently.
Yeah.
So this could have been a nod, because this is now a turbocharged V8 like the 288 GTO.
I'm pretty sure Ferrari said, oh, no, it was hybrids. That's what they're saying.
Well, the hybrid, yeah, they've gone that direction.
They said they would never do it, I think, when the F12 came out. That was the V12,
yep.
right? And they're like, we would never do a hybrid. Or, I think turbo too, right? No.
There was a time where they said they would not turbocharge their cars again. And
I think I get it. It's so Italian in that way.
Yeah, and then they're like, we find a way to do it better, But the truth is, they have. I mean, I've been lucky enough to drive one turbocharged Ferrari, and holy crap, that thing, the turbo in many ways adds a lot to the experience. I haven't driven a 48, and I sure as hell haven't driven this one yet. Nobody has. But, I think it's cool. It's the special version. So it's replacing the next in line from the 458 Speciale. So this is the track-focused one. It's the one that comes... You would actually probably hate it, because it doesn't come with a very finished interior.
I like simple interiors. That looks beautiful to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's well designed, but it doesn't even have carpets.
No, it's fine.
It's very raw.
No, that's fine.
I
think he brings that up because
Sam is a stickler for fit and finish.
I think I need to set the record straight that I'm not one of those it needs to have ostrich leather.
Anything less than a Rolls Corniche is not up to Sam's.
I'm not that, but I think if the car is meant to be something, meant to target a certain market, I think. To me, it has a certain standard. Mm-hmm. But for this car, the Pista, it's a track-focused car, like the was it the Lamborghini Elemento?
Holy crap!
I wouldn't directly compare it to this, but it's kind of the same realm in a way. Because it's strictly, beside all this...
even a design exercise on top
design-wise, it's freaking crazy. And the paint, it's not even paint, it's
it's a lacquer finish or something.
Crystals, I don't know. It's insane.
That car was nuts.
But that interior is nothing.
That car also wasn't street legal,
it doesn't even have seats. They put pads.
That's true. They put pads on the firewall.
So that looks beautiful to me. So the interior I'm seeing here, it looks amazing. It's beautiful.
And it's on par. If you look at the interior of a Huracan Performante, it's very similar in its raw, rugged nature. It's focused. And this is that car that was supposed to be that. I just remember I was lucky. I was very fortunate in that the first Ferrari I drove was a Scuderia 430, and I was at one of the places in Las Vegas where you pay to do it, and I did 5 laps in that car. And that car just redefined everything I thought I knew about sports cars, and what was a fast car, and what was responsive and handling and everything. But I just remember when I first got in that car, there was visible diamond plate, and visible there was no padding, there was no there was no fit and finish. It was just this raw, it was almost a race car, and it was just nuts. And so this carries on that lineage. And I think in the 488, it's turbocharged. I think they did I think it's going to be kind of what we expect.
Yeah.
But it does look like it has a little bit more serious aerodynamic treatment.
For sure, that I don't even know what it's called when they have that low pressure point in the hood area.
Yeah, the splitter and
so it gets the air goes over, a smooth coat of air goes over the top of the car.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna have some downforce.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hopefully, but it's definitely I just remember back to the 360 Challenge Strali, which was one of the earlier versions of this, and that car was basically just a 360 with a racing stripe on it and a stripped down interior. But now they're doing the real special aerodynamic treatment to these cars too. So they're getting more and more specialized from the standard versions, which I like. I think that's really cool.
I think the market kind of wants that. Even if they don't understand it, they just want to say like, oh yeah, has these crazy aerodynamic features. But I want to point out something. I know you guys, hopefully this photo comes up on the video, but pretty much cover the hood right before that whole the low pressure point. Huracan. Does it look like a Huracan?
Oh yeah, so right in like the bumper basically.
Yeah, the splitter.
Oh wow, yeah, that actually kind of does look like a Huracan. It's got the same like trapezoidal shape in the front. And with the the splitter jutting out.
The front end looks very
interesting.
Like aggressive cuts, and not like a curvy. At least for my
no, totally.
Looks like a Huracan to me.
Yeah, and that's a very astute observation. Yes. And now it's something I can't unsee. Yep, it's like it's like the i8 birthing the 911.
Exactly.
Oh my god. But yeah, speaking along this line of like these serious aerodynamics on taking the supercar, your standard quote unquote supercar, and going crazy with the aerodynamics. This brings me to the McLaren Senna, and
here we go.
So like, I have an issue, and I want to say I love that car. I think it's a phenomenal machine, and I think it's going to be ungodly fast and all of that. But I have a problem with that car being designated a hypercar in the sense that like as the next hypercar after the P1. And like I've heard journalists say it, I've heard even some people from McLaren say that this is the new Hyper Series car. And I'm looking at a McLaren F1, how special that car was, and the P1, and how much over the so the Super Series that was. So like at contemporary, you had the 650S was the supercar with 640 horsepower, and your kind of typical-ish supercar handling with McLaren's their own big spin of their chassis. But then you had the McLaren P1, which had almost 300 more horsepower. It was 900 versus 640, and it had its own bespoke drivetrain. It had a similar engine with different internals, but it had its own hybrid drivetrain, its own active aerodynamics. It was a totally, it was way more cranked up in like technically, I think, than in the pieces that make it up than the Senna is over the 720S. Like the 720S is about 711 horsepower or so.
Yeah.
And the Senna's like 789, but it's not got any more fancy things. They literally it's like a tune. And if you look at it, it's like 70 horsepower, 80 horsepower higher. That's about 10 or 12%.
Yeah, I think
it's not that much.
I mean, I would pretty much agree with you on that one. I think one thing that I think McLaren was trying to do is you'll notice that pretty much from the P1 down, the front end, the design generally looks somewhat the same. Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm generalizing a little bit, but I think we could all agree that, the front end looks somewhat the same.
I 100% agree with that.
Kind of looks, even the different, they all kind
of front on, you could mistake a 650S and a P1.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't really know McLarens, you'd be like, that's the same car.
Yeah, and I know McLaren is one of the best racing teams in the world, if not the best. Big respect. I'm not saying this is the reason, but I think this might be one of the reasons. I think the Senna kind of introduces a new era of McLaren. Like, hey, we're not this cookie cutter design, regardless of what type of, which level of...
sure ain't cookie cutter. It's a lot of things.
Yeah, it's like...
but it ain't cookie cutter.
It's a Frankenstein of curves and aero craziness.
I don't hate the way it looks like a lot of people do. I think it's just so over the top.
Yeah, and especially if you're used to like the traditional, I guess, quote-unquote traditional McLaren design, which is curvy, everything well put together. This this thing just looks like I just want to suck in all the air I can get.
It's like a Hot Wheels car.
Yeah, pretty much.
But what I miss though is I guess for like the hypercars, like the P1 was such a beautiful design. It was flowing and everything was gorgeous. Whereas just like, whoa, I mean, this thing is a lot of things, and I'm sure you'll shit your pants if you see one in traffic. But like, it's not pretty. You could say a lot of things about it. Maybe it looks really cool, but it sure as hell is not beautiful.
I agree with you.
You know what I mean? Whereas like the P1 was, and the McLaren F1 I thought was a beautiful design.
Yeah.
Somebody getting out of that in a suit would not fit.
You don't need to get out of it because people can see you because the door is see-through.
Yeah.
You can show off
I don't know about how that goes either, especially
like
these rich playboys. They like to, bring their lady with them and stuff.
Yeah. Imagine like
can't be doing nothing in this car.
Taking a girl on a date on that.
Yeah.
Imagine her having to get out of that car.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can have a Britney moment right there.
Yeah.
But all right. So like my issue with it is that to me this isn't really like a hypercar. It's like it's very very much over the top. But this to me is very similar to like a Speciale or like a Performance or the Pete or the new Ferraris and stuff. Why did I just forget the Pista? Sorry, I was totally blanked. I think it's like one of those kind of cars, but then turned up to 11 or 12 on top of that. But it doesn't quite have the ingredients for me that would make it special enough to be a hypercar. It's like when I look at it and you see it, all of the parts. It's very much a 720S with a really well done body kit. But it is still a body kit on the same platform using mostly or many of the same parts.
Do you know it comes with a free dining table?
That would be awesome.
Yeah. You see that wing? It's a dining table.
Oh, well, hell yeah, dude. Dude, yeah, if you're out of Cars and Coffee, like, you could totally put your brioche on top of that.
And I just want to say, Koenigsegg? Koenigsegg. I think he pretty much ushered in the era of wings mounted from the top.
Oh yeah,
it's been done before, but in terms of production cars, he definitely was the first. The 1-in-1, I think
those things are just next level.
It still doesn't make sense to me. I get it doesn't disrupt. It's not supposed to disrupt the airflow. But
basically, you get, from what I understand,
like a more
you get a smoother path for the downforce, and you don't get as much drag. Yeah. Because it's not actually hitting it; it's getting sucked up, and the car gets sucked down. But that's why, like you see the diffusers underneath the car.
Support, though.
Oh, it is. No, it's hitting less than if they cup it the whole way. Yeah. But it's just, it's just less drag, and not in theory. I mean, it's a fact. But
this versus the Pista, what would you take?
Well, okay, that's the other thing here.
Okay, yeah.
The price ain't the same.
Okay.
This is McLaren by in my opinion, by making one of those kind of track special cars, but making it maybe a notch or two even crazier. They're now able to charge $1 million for this car. So they took a car that otherwise would have been like $500,000 or $600,000, and now they can make with a little bit more or a little bit more effort, maybe double the effort. They're able to make that much more money on each of these things.
All right, fair enough.
I think it's pretty brilliant.
What would you take though? Just say, theoretically, not theoretically, hypothetically.
Yeah. No, yeah, if you had your choice of any of those kind of cars, right?
Yeah. And you have obviously, if you could afford one of these, you probably have a daily
money,
driver.
No object. Yeah,
is
sure. It right? I don't know, man. That Pista's, I'd probably go with that.
Yeah,
I'd go with the Pista.
I'd probably go with Pista too.
Especially when they make the spider version of it. That's Senna, for me would be.
The Senna is just like I think the clear door thing's a little much. I don't get that.
Yeah, there was a reason BMW got rid of that in the i8 before they brought it out. That was the only thing they changed when they.
It's the ultimate driving machine, of course.
And they got rid of it. So what does that make McLaren? If the ultimate driving machine got rid of that little window, then what the hell are they doing? You know what I mean? I wonder who has more F1 championships.
Okay, all right.
All right, so we can leave the supercars there.
But let's keep an eye on
love us or hate us. If you're a McLaren Senna fanboy and you want to, throw a rock through my window, do so in the comments or wherever. All right, so.
All right, here we go.
Now. Kia, all right, going from almost hyper cars back to, Korean, sensible Korean luxury cars. Mm-hmm. Kia Stinger, Genesis G70.
Korea!
Oh my God.
Sorry, that was pretty racist.
He feels this uncontrollable urge.
Yeah,
every time we talk about
it's
Korea.
my blood.
Of course, man. Hey, I get it. Every time somebody mentions Norway,
I just like
I just have to put on my Viking hat, or
like
Germany, I have to go get my tank. You know what I mean?
Making everyone uncomfortable here.
Oh man, which is only me. It's weird. But yeah, so the Stinger, we got to drive the Stinger. We got to sample it in the streets of Philadelphia, so not very, very much. But we got a solid, I think, between both of us driving, we got to sense it for about 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah,
and
so.
Yeah, we got to get a good feel of it. We got to hit it a little bit on the where we could, and we got a good first impression. And I don't know about you, but I was definitely impressed with how solid that car felt. I've driven a bunch of the other Hyundai, Kia high performance cars of the last few years, or luxury cars, and this felt more solid by a pretty clear margin than any of those did.
And just for context, we had the was it GT1?
I think it was a GT or GT2 actually. I think it was the top.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, I think it was one of the top.
So,
ones.
yeah,
it was like
just
50
for context, we drove the pretty much fully loaded.
It was the V6 3.3 liter 365 horse with all-wheel drive and like all of the
kit.
All the luxury stuff.
So
it was a nice car. There. But yeah, what did you think of it?
I mean, I have mixed feelings. Styling wise, to be honest, I think it's not gonna do very well. It's not gonna age well. I think
in like 5 years.
And I get it. Like, I mean, you don't buy new cars with that in mind. Actually, you kind of do, I guess. But I guess my biggest gripe about it, I guess.
Here we go. I know exactly.
No, I'll start with the positive. I think the biggest thing I liked, but yeah, Nick touched on it. The performance is actually surprisingly good. I mean, we got to floor it, I guess, even though it was in Philadelphia.
Basically, a nice full throttle for top of first gear.
Yeah, definitely.
0 to 50 or so.
Yeah, in
a second. We were
in a closed track area.
It wasn't a closed track, man. We're just talking. It's all good, man. Allegedly. We allegedly did that on the streets. Where we could, where there was nobody in the way, of course.
Of course.
Allegedly. I could be lying. How do you know what I'm saying is true?
Yeah. But, I mean, it hooked up nice. It was all-wheel drive, right?
All-wheel drive.
Yeah. I got pushed in the back of the seat. I mean, it's definitely not. It's not going to, surprise you.
If you look at the power to weight ratio, because the other thing is we drove the heaviest one. That's 4,100 pounds. So it's 365 horse in a car that weighs 4,100 pounds and has drivetrain loss for all-wheel drive.
It's fun horsepower.
It works.
It's, enough to be, you won't be disappointed.
No, yeah, not at all.
Yeah, unless, you want to track it, which means you bought the wrong car.
Yeah.
But
I think on the highway, that thing with that kind of solid feel, the weight, car. And that amount of power, that's that thing's going to be able to hit, supposedly they say it'll be able to hit 167 or something. So it's got some legs.
Yeah.
It's definitely got some legs.
That's not bad. And with the brakes, I know when the first Genesis Coupe came, I know this is kind of comparing the first performance cars of Hyundai Korean cars.
Yeah, I think it's valid.
The 2.0 turbo R spec, which came with the Brembos from the factory.
Right.
I heard a lot of actually bad things about that. Not saying the brakes were bad per se, but it wasn't a big upgrade from, it wasn't compared to other cars that had similar brake kits. I don't know exactly what the deal was, but I know at least a couple of my friends that had the car, they noticed a lot of brake fade. I don't know if it was the pads they were running or whatnot, but I'm assuming hopefully they fixed that in this one.
Yeah, hopefully their execution
has
improved a little bit.
Who did they take? Was it from the M division?
Yeah, I forget the gentleman's name, but it was one of the former heads of BMW M division went to Kia and helped them develop this car. So, they have some very serious expertise behind it. And I mean, I'm serious. I couldn't believe the level it jumped in feel and just how solid it felt, build wise and all. Everything was tighter and
Could you feel a little hint of the ultimate driving machine?
Little hint, I think. Look, it's competing with the 440i Grand Coupe.
Yeah, I would still take a 440 though.
I'd have to drive them back to back, to be honest.
I would think 440.
I'm not a BMW, hardcore guy necessarily. That'll be a different topic for later. But
I want to return to the gripe I had. I want to be positive. The gripe one of the biggest gripes I have. You walk into that interior and you're like, oh, a Mercedes. The reason why I say that is I think the 3 center vents for the air, heat, whatever. It pretty much looks exactly where a Mercedes one would be. The flow of how it kind of pops out at you is exactly the same. So it took some styling from that. You get a little bit of BMW styling with the the climate control. I think kind of feels that way. It's just like this Frankenstein of design elements, which I don't think works. I think they should have manipulated it a little bit more to make it their own. Like, I understand, like, you're not going to reinvent the wheel with these interiors, but, like, don't make it so similar. Like, someone's going to look at it and be like, all right, like, I totally know where you got this from.
It's kind of a greatest hits
It should be like, I can see where you get your ideas from, but, you kind of made it your own. I don't know about, like, the cost. Maybe it was cost savings, but it was definitely, it was kind of difficult to get over that. And one thing I will say with Korean car interiors so far, their materials just don't age very well at all. And I kind of felt that same type of leather that I felt on the Genesis 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've seen those Genesis now. I mean, they do okay, but like compared, like for what they're...
It's one of the best cars you can buy for like 15 grand with 20,000 miles on it, I swear to God.
I agree with you. Somewhat.
Sorry for whoever paid 45.
Yeah, the interiors don't last, or they don't age well. I don't know about last, but they just don't look good. But we'll see about this one. I mean, it's a big design change, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's now and just going back real quick to what you said about the styling, I will say in the right color, in the blue or the red, the craziness of the styling, it is definitely a head turner in traffic. Like we were in a blue one and people were looking. Like when you were driving, I was looking at other people. We were turning heads left and right.
Key thing there, it has to be in the right color.
Yeah, because I pass a black one every day.
I passed one too, and I was like, oh, that was a Stinger. Oh, I didn't know that.
Oops. Yeah, what? Is it a base one? Yeah, it's black. You double take it in the wrong colors. So, if you want to get one and you want the full experience, buy one of the bright colors.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So that versus the G70. The G70 is pretty much exactly the same platform. It's just going to be Hyundai with a little bit different tuning. And it looks to me like...
And you get a Genesis badge, not a Kia badge. Which is
whatever that means. But
for the context, they're pretty much trying to branch off and make their own.
They are.
I'm sure most of you all know, but they're just trying to be like the next Lexus or Infiniti.
I mean, this actually looks a lot like an Infiniti Q50.
The front end, that is.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really good. They're clearly shooting for the 3 Series.
Yeah, the rear looks like a CLA in my opinion.
Yeah, it does.
But I mean, it looks good. I think proportions are great. It looks like they they went for like a more of a coupe saloon look.
I will say those seats look a lot like the C-Class.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
but still, like, look at the interior.
Cool, no, I actually think it looks good, even if it is like a copy in a lot of ways of other interiors. It does look good.
Yeah, but I mean, what did it copy?
Well, I'm just saying, very much in the seats. Yeah, that looks a lot like the AMG.
I guess
Mercedes.
What about
C-classes.
Like the center console, the steering wheel?
Let's see. I'd say there's a little bit of Audi in there.
A little bit. But it's like...
I mean, I'd have to look at pictures.
Exactly. The fact that you actually have to, like, dive...
But yeah, no, in the Stinger, it's like, holy crap.
That's Mercedes for sure. Yeah. But, I mean...
You know, in terms of, like... But basically, these are the same kind of thing. Like, same engines and everything like that. And it's just kind of the flavor that you want. Like, I think the Kia is definitely more juvenile. More look at me, whereas the Genesis is... It's more grown up, and it's more like...
I think it could still, since it hasn't really established itself like really well yet, because it's somewhat new. It can be kind of perceived as like an old person car, but I can see it also being like that, that seasoned, not old, but like...
Yeah, I mean, if you buy it because you want to try something different.
Yeah, and this is definitely a 5 Series, 4. Maybe 5 Series BMW competitor or E-Class.
It might even be smaller than that. I don't know. I'm like trying to look at the
might
size.
be.
I think it might be a little smaller, but it's.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
So it's
it
probably,
might be more
it
like
looks
a
like
3.
a 4. No, I don't know about 3 Series.
Yeah, maybe not. Well,
just because of the interior trim, it's
so it's more like the Grand Coupe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think this is definitely not, at least styling wise and like package wise, like targeted at the base 3 Series, like 320i or something.
It's like
much more of at least a 330i,
like fully loaded. Yeah, 330 or like a 4 Series.
Yeah,
yeah, or like
the Grand Coupes,
decently equipped E-Class.
Yeah, I mean, but again, they're gonna do what they have always done. I mean, these are gonna be incredible value for money, and they're gonna win. When you look at the features for features, they're gonna win
for sure.
They're very good at doing that.
So the takeaway here is wait 2 to 3 years if you really want one of these.
Hell yeah, dude!
Because resale value is still terrible.
Yeah, I mean, we drove our car we drove was like $52,000 or something, and damn well that in 3 years you're going to be able to get those for mid-20s. So with no miles on them. So I mean, I want people to buy them or lease them or whatever brand new so that I could have a stab at one, in a couple years. But I sure as hell, if it was a close friend of mine or something, I'm like, save your money. Don't buy it yet. Yeah. Wait, because these things do not hold their value. Yeah. Like I said, go if you don't believe me, just go on Auto Trader and search for Hyundai Genesises under $20,000, and you will be astounded how like unused those cars are. It's so cheap.
Yeah. But I think with all this being said, I think it's really exciting to see Genesis and Kia coming into this game.
I think it's huge. Yeah, and their reputation is going to get better and better and better the more things.
Yeah, like this it's just like pushing the market to be more innovative, to be more performance driven, and do all things amazingly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, like whatever you think about the brands, whether it's good or bad, I think it's just good to have them there.
Yeah, so, yeah. I've been blown away by their whole effort since they started it. Back with like the Genesis Coupe and the Genesis sedan, yep. I went and drove the V6 and the V8 back to back when that first came out, and I mean, look, I wasn't expecting perfection, but what was there was if like
promising, right?
Compared to like a Mercedes or a equivalent 5 Series, it was not a perfect competitor, but my God, you got 80 or 90% of that for way less money. Mm-hmm. And, like, in the end of the day, like, if you're a value-minded buyer and, hey, why not?
Yeah, but you're still repping a Hyundai badge.
Yeah, but that V8, man, V8 had 430 horsepower on the 5.0, dude. I mean, that's no joke.
It's not.
So, it was an interesting car, and I'm glad to see them keep going with it. They keep pushing, and they even made the Genesis brand, so...
I think it's a good brand name, to be honest.
I think it is. I think it's a great brand name.
The badge looks classy.
I'm glad they didn't go with Equus, because nobody knows what Equus is.
By the
way, I driven one of those, too. That's
background,
a nice car.
Background. Equus existed, I think, for the past, 15 years. Yeah, just it didn't leave Korea.
In Korea?
Yeah, I remember I used to go there as a kid. I used to see this, like, crazy, like, Maybach-looking thing. Obviously not as nice. But I was like, what the heck is that? And then it was like a Hyundai. At that time, I didn't know. And then I looked back, I'm like, oh, that was an Equus.
So they've been doing like an internal kind of...
Yeah, and I think I saw in like one of Doug DeMiro's videos, like you can push the middle center cushion of the shotgun seat so you can lay your legs flat, the passenger.
Yeah, and the new one has that too, I think. There's like a button you can push to like fold the...
No, not folding. Like, it's like a cutout.
Really?
So it's like the cushion.
Yeah.
You like push it out like a Lego.
And it's like a doggy door type thing? No way.
So you can lay your legs flat. So.
Oh, and then you have like a pillow to rest on.
Yeah, it's like you have...
Damn, that's a really good design. I want to see that.
I'm sure, like... I mean, it doesn't look like... It looks really stupid. Yeah, but I'm sure you're freaking comfortable.
What year was that? That was probably like early 2000s or something. Like, that's a pretty good solution for that in the early 2000s.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
There when the Maybach was coming out, it's a good budget solution for that. Hey, why not? All right, so let's move on to the last topic.
This is a fun one. I think This is somewhat new.
Well, I guess, all right, let's start by saying Rolls-Royce is about to release their first SUV that they don't want anyone to call an SUV for whatever reason. It's going to be called the Cullinan. And look, I was not a fan of a Rolls-Royce for a long time, and then through
why?
When I was younger.
Oh,
I just didn't get it. And and then through the blessings of this blog and of Mind Over Motor and what that became, early on in the phase, we were at Pebble Beach and we got to test drive a couple of them. We drove a Phantom Drophead and the Ghost. And my mind was changed at that point.
Is the Ghost the cheaper one?
The Ghost is the cheaper one. It shares a lot of parts with the 70.
Cheap.
Yeah, cheap. It's like only $350,000.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
But so at that point, getting to experience those and then doing that a couple more times in the years following, I've totally come around to what a Rolls-Royce is and their ability to execute a level of luxury that you really don't find from anybody else. The Bentleys are not quite on the same level of the design and the packaging. Mercedes, the Maybach was a cool car, but it was really just an S-Class. It was not that special.
And they felt it in sales.
Yeah.
They really felt it.
Yeah, I mean, they only sold I think 12 or 1,400 of them in 10 years or something.
They paused the project, right?
They killed it.
Yeah, they killed it, and then they brought it back recently?
Oh, no, they brought the name back. So now you can get the S-Class Maybach edition or whatever, or the Maybach. Yeah. It's like an up thing, but it's not even that expensive. It's not on the same level as these. Rolls-Royce's entry level is in the $300,000 range. The Mercedes Maybach is around $200,000 or so. So it's a cheaper. It's really just like the top level S-Class limo, right? Yeah. It's not competing at that level. Really, at this point, it's just Rolls-Royce and Bentley at that stratospheric luxury car, comfort limousine level.
I wish there were more, but yeah, you're right.
I wish there were too. It'd be very cool.
Even Bentley and Rolls-Royce comparisons, in my opinion, Rolls-Royce is
next level.
Yeah, I mean, I respect Bentley a lot, and I think they make amazing cars, and obviously they're partner with a little affiliation with a company I like.
Funny side note, Bentley, in terms of just legally, Bentley is actually the legal entity of Rolls-Royce originally.
Oh.
Because they merged, but then, so it's like Rolls-Royce made a whole bunch of things back in the day, and then they sold off their airplane engines. So airplane engines are generally made by Rolls-Royce.
Trump's plane, without getting too political here, Trump's plane has Rolls-Royce engines. Oh,
sure, yeah. Like most planes you fly in have Rolls-Royce engines.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it's kind of flash, right? But so the car, from what I understand, the car business split from the airplane business in the 70s or the 80s.
Yeah. And
then, the corporate entity of Rolls-Royce was merged with Bentley. And in the early 2000s, I believe, they split. And Bentley went to Volkswagen and took the actual legal entity that was originally Rolls-Royce with them. And then BMW rebirthed the Rolls-Royce brand as sort of a new brand. So they're Rolls-Royce, but they're not technically the original corporate entity. That's Bentley.
Gotcha.
So that's what I heard. I'm not 100% sure of everything, but
look into.
I that's what I've heard, and it's just kind of interesting. Well, okay, so that was a tangent, but so the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, they released this teaser shot, and it has this, just of the rear, the car is kind of blacked out, and it has a quote-unquote viewing suite seats coming out of the rear of the car. So it looks like it's like a panel that protrudes from the rear. You have two seats that fold up, and you have this little coffee table for you to, put your wine or, cut your cocaine up on or whatever you do, when you're rich and you can afford your Rolls-Royce SUV. And then the other press photo they have is like these two seats looking out the back of this like beautiful sunset in a silhouette. And you can just imagine yourself, sitting there with your significant other, enjoying being wealthy and, maybe making some babies on those seats if you could fold the little table down, you know what I mean? So it's, this is luxury, dude. This is what, rich people want, supposedly. They want to sit and watch sunsets from the tailgate. I mean, who doesn't?
If you have no idea what we're talking about in terms of how it looks, just go.
Well, we're gonna put a picture in.
Okay, yeah. Sure. Well, just take
the sunset photo too. Cool.
It's okay. Should we just start talking about these?
Go for it. Have at it, dude. I know you hate it.
Okay, I think we all can agree. Rolls Royce is arguably the pinnacle of luxury, and just being a boss, pretty much, having servants and
making the whole world your bitch, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. So these things, it looks like they fold, so it looks like you kind of pull it out as a shelf, and then they kind of pop up. We were kind of talking earlier. I'm sure when we say pop up, we mean. What do we say?
Fold up. Now,
as the sunrise
comes. As the sunrise
is from the east.
Yeah, exactly. So, now, there might be a button you can press, or you might have to actually reach down and pull up. But I have a feeling they won't bother their customers with that. That would be a little bit un-Rolls Royce like it. It probably is going to have a button. You don't even have to close the doors. You can push a button for that.
Yeah, maybe it's like once it maybe you press a button, the whole thing comes out as a set, and it just kind of the whole thing comes out. So it looks like the table folds as well.
But it could also, I don't know. I don't see the electric motor, so unless it's in that hinge thing.
Yeah, maybe it's spring loaded or something. But the main point I want to kind of make here is that I understand these aren't car seats. I can't imagine these could be used that often by a typical Rolls Royce owner. Not that I know of many, but
there's a few.
They look. They look uncomfortable. I would say that. I'm sure they might be pretty comfortable.
I can't wait to try them out at one of the concourses.
I can't really. I'm gonna kind of refrain myself from saying anything that way because I just.
We're gonna come back to this after we go to one of these concourses in the next year or so.
Sit on it,
and they're gonna have that out, and people are gonna be lining up to try them out. And like, oh, my butt's comfortable, or this is hard. I don't know why. But I trust Rolls Royce's execution. If they make some shitty little seats and a little table that pops out, I'm sure they made the best one you probably could make.
But should they make it? That's my question. Like, okay, I have a Rolls Royce. Am I gonna need one of these, or am I gonna go into my 5-star hotel instead on my vacation?
Yeah. Well, this is the off-road. This is the go anywhere Rolls Royce. You're supposed to, you leave the hotel, you leave the mansion, you go up into the country, climb the hill, park at the edge of the cliff, and you enjoy the sunset and the view in your all-terrain Rolls Royce. Supposedly.
I just don't see it happening. This is like one of those gimmicks that you put what is it, autopilot in a supercar. It's like that level of pointlessness.
Imagine the used ones in
I'm sure
10 years.
I'm sure if I pulled one of those seats out right now, it'd be really worth $8,000.
Oh no, I mean just the condition.
Oh, I mean it's a Rolls Royce though.
It is. I mean they're tight. They definitely are built like bank vaults, and they'll stay tight.
But I think it just devalues kind of the image, in my opinion, at least. Not a lot, but it's kind of like, okay, I would have rather them not done that.
Maybe a gun rack instead.
Yeah, like a gun rack. I think you wanted to
have the full M60 package with the belt drive.
Or something
bullets.
What would you do on that? You eat truffles?
Like I said, bro, you make babies on that. I'm sure the little table folds down and babies can.
No.
Clearly,
no. Okay, that's
a whole Kama Sutra going on back there.
No, definitely not. Not happening. But this is a tricky one for me. I think it looks not classy. I think you kind of look like a rich redneck, to be honest.
Well, maybe that's who they're going. They're going after the Duck Dynasty crowd with this.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
They're going to get them.
They're gonna camel wrap this car for sure.
Yo, I can't wait to see that.
Actually,
When that's gonna happen too.
That would look pretty cool. But that's not classy anymore. It would just look cool because it's.
I can't wait to see the pink camo one. You know what I mean?
Please, someone send photos.
Hell yeah, send photos of that. All right, so I think that topic is good. I'm reserving my final judgment until my butt has touched that seat, and I've tried, sipping some kind of a alcoholic beverage off that little table.
But what's your opinion? Like your final on these? Obviously, we don't know how they feel. We don't know like how they actually work. But what's your first impression of this on the Rolls Royce?
Rolls Royces are totally luxury objects, and they're supposed to have cool little bullshit that other normal cars don't have. So I love it. I think it's is it a gimmick? Yeah, but the whole car is a gimmick.
The Pontiac Aztek had this.
Yeah, but it was a rugged, that was like a blue collar different thing. I mean, it did have something like this. Yeah. Actually, it had the tent off the back, I think. No, it was cool. But this is hey, let's just hope that this Rolls-Royce Cullinan is like a classy Pontiac Aztek. You know what I'm saying? And I think, I don't know. Do you have any other parting words or?
No, I mean, yeah, we'll just have to.
We'll see you in Geneva next week, or this week if this goes up next week.
Yeah. But yeah, this is our first podcast. So, I mean, internet's harsh. It's a harsh place, but we love the constructive criticism. We always want to improve. So, this is kind of a place where we won't be reviewing as much. We'll definitely have reviews, but we're mainly gonna be sharing our thoughts, and I'm sure a lot of you people out there have opinions to voice, and hopefully we'll be one of those avenues to.
Yeah, this is the first one. So when there are comments, we will be answering questions.
Yes.
When there are comments, so you got to do your part, okay?
But yeah, we're excited. So we'll try to keep you up to date. We'll have our opinions, hopefully, informed opinions. That's what we go for.
Yeah, we go for informed.
Not just
might be wrong.
Yeah,
you might hate us.
But love us. Hopefully you come out with a different perspective, whether you agree or not. Mm-hmm. And
we love alternate perspectives, no matter what, whether we agree with them or disagree with them. I just love hearing anybody that doesn't have like the average perspective on everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's always interesting to have a conversation with somebody like that. So if you have any type of crazy opinions or on any of these things, please do share them. It would be
topic ideas
or topic ideas for sure.
Course.
Absolutely.
We'll probably rant about anything, to be honest.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Hopefully car related.
We'll try and keep the rants car related.
Cool.
God knows I could do all kinds of things, but Alrighty, Sam.
Awesome. Well, we're signing off. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great day. All right.